Paris around the turn of the 20th century. In a dilapidated wooden shed behind a university, a faint blue-green glow dances in the darkness. Marie Curie leans closer to a shimmering glass vial, her eyes wide with wonder. The substance inside emits an eerie light, illuminating her face like a ghostly candle. She doesn't know it yet, but this beautiful glow, the glow of radium, is both a miraculous discovery and a deadly curse in the making. At a time when women were rarely accepted in science, Marie Curie defied all odds. Her pioneering research on radioactivity would earn her 2 Nobel Prizes, the first woman ever to win one and the first person to win 2. The world celebrated her as a hero of science. Yet hidden beneath the accolades was a grave, personal cost. The very forces Curie unleashed in that unassuming shed would ultimately take a devastating toll on her body and leave behind a radioactive legacy that endures to this day. Marie and her husband Pierre Curie devoted themselves to uncovering the mysteries of radiation. Working in a converted shed that had once been a dissecting room, they toiled in crude conditions. The space was poorly ventilated and leaked rainwater, far from a proper laboratory. Surrounded by piles of black uranium ore called pitchblende, Marie spent night after night stirring cauldrons of boiling chemicals, driven by an almost superhuman determination. Amid the grime and exhaustion, something extraordinary began to reveal itself. The pitchblende was far more active than pure uranium, hinting at undiscovered elements inside. In July 1898, after months of meticulous work, the Curies finally isolated a new element from the ore. It emitted intense radiation, far beyond what uranium could produce. Marie named it polonium, in honor of her native Poland. And the discoveries didn't stop there. On December 26, 1898, the husband and wife team announced a second element, radium, named after the Latin word for ray. In the course of this research, Marie Curie even coined the term radioactivity to describe the mysterious energy these elements released. It was a revolution in science. The air in their ramshackle lab crackled with excitement, and unbeknownst to them with invisible danger, as they realized they had opened a door into a new atomic world. Isolating radium was an arduous task. Marie processed tons of pitchblende to extract just a tiny pinch of radium salt, an element millions of times more radioactive than uranium. At night, the Curies noticed that their laboratory jars filled with radium would glow in the dark, casting an enchanting pale light across the workbenches. Marie was mesmerized. She later described the glowing radium in poetic terms, like faint, fairy lights dancing in the darkness. This ethereal glow was a beacon of scientific triumph, a light that promised to banish darkness from medicine and reveal nature's hidden secrets. Little did Marie know it was also a harbinger of her own doom. For all the wonder their discovery inspired, the Curies were alarmingly unaware of its dangers. They handled radioactive materials with bare hands in that drafty shed, with no protection at all. Marie often carried test tubes of glowing radium in her pockets for the simple delight of it. She kept pieces of radium salt in her desk drawer, marveling at the lovely glow they emitted each night. There were warning signs. The couple's fingertips became cracked, raw, and burned from handling radium. They suffered unexplained fatigue and fevers, but in those early days neither Marie nor Pierre truly understood that the radiation was silently corroding their health. How could they? They were the first to dance with this invisible fire. Marie pushed forward relentlessly, driven by passion and curiosity. She worked with intense focus, often forgetting to eat or rest. As the years went on, the toll of chronic radiation exposure began to show. Marie's hands were scarred, and kept open sores that would not heal. Her vision dimmed with severe cataracts. Later in life, she would need surgeries to regain sight. Friends recalled that she looked pale and frail, coughing persistently. Still, Curie refused to abandon her research, even as her own body was failing. In World War I, she personally equipped ambulances with X-ray machines and drove them to the front lines, using radium-powered X-rays to save wounded soldiers despite the risks. Every exposure added up. By the late 1920s, Marie's bone marrow was beginning to give out under the onslaught of radiation. On July 4, 1934, Marie Curie died, aged 66, of aplastic anemia, a blood disorder likely caused by her years of radiation exposure. She had literally given her life to science. One can imagine the tragedy of that moment. The very elements she discovered, the cures she hoped radium would bring, had fatally poisoned her. She was buried in a lead-lined coffin, her body itself still emitting radiation even in death. The world lost a brilliant scientist and pioneer, a woman who had illuminated humanity's path, but at the ultimate personal cost. Marie Curie's discoveries set off a frenzy of excitement around radiation. For the first time, doctors had a potent new weapon against disease. In 1903, the Curies published that radium can destroy tumor cells faster than healthy cells, heralding the dawn of radiation therapy for cancer. Marie's work led directly to life-saving treatments, a miraculous legacy indeed. During her lifetime, she saw radium celebrated as a wonder element, a cure-all. It wasn't just used by scientists and doctors, it spawned an entire industry. Entrepreneurs began adding radium to consumer products, touting it as a tonic for health and vitality. Radium-laced medicines, toothpaste, face creams, even chocolates, and drinking water appeared on the market. In the public imagination, Marie Curie's radium was almost a magical elixir, a little glowing drop of life. But there was a dark side to this radiant obsession. The same glow-in-the-dark radium paint that lit up watch dials and instrument panels would also bring horror to unsuspecting young women. In the 1910s and 1920s, hundreds of girls, later known as the Radium Girls, worked in factories painting watch and clock faces with radium paint so the numbers would glow at night. These dial painters were told the paint was harmless. In fact, they were even encouraged to lick their brushes to sharpen the tips, ingesting tiny amounts of radium with each stroke. The factory owners assured them there was nothing to worry about. And at first, it seemed fun. The girls would leave work with radium dust on their hair and clothes, making them literally glow in the dark when they went dancing. They laughed and called themselves the Ghost Girls, delighted by the sparkle of radium on their party dresses. Of course, the danger was all too real. As the years passed, these women began to fall terribly ill. One by one, the Radium Girls developed mysterious, gruesome symptoms. Their teeth fell out and wouldn't heal. Their jaws and bones started to rot from the inside, a condition later dubbed radium jaw. One young dial painter, Molly Maggia, thought she had a routine toothache, but soon her entire jaw deteriorated painfully and had to be removed. She died in 1922 at only 24 years old of a massive hemorrhage. The radium in her bones literally caused her to bleed to death. Dozens more followed, suffering anemia, bone fractures, huge tumors, and indescribable pain. At first, their employer and doctors refused to admit radium was to blame. Some of the women's deaths were even falsely attributed to syphilis to hide the scandal. But the horrible truth could not stay hidden. By 1925, an independent expert, Dr. Harrison Martland, proved conclusively that the radium paint had poisoned the women, destroying their bodies from the inside. The Radium Girls fought back. Many knew they were doomed, yet they bravely took the company to court to seek justice for themselves and protection for others. In 1928, facing dying plaintiffs, the firm finally settled the case. The courage of these women left an important legacy. Their tragedy sparked some of the first workplace safety laws and regulations for industrial radiation. For the first time, a company was held responsible for the health of its employees, leading to new safety standards. The Radium Girls story, born directly from Curie's miracle element, became a cautionary tale of scientific hubris and corporate greed. Their luminous paint, once a symbol of progress, turned out to be a fatal poison, a dark stain on Marie Curie's radiant legacy. And the double-edged sword of radioactivity would cut even deeper. The knowledge Marie Curie unlocked about the atom's energy would, in later decades, lead to both great advancements and great horrors. Radiation found applications in sterilizing food, powering spacecraft, and revolutionizing medical imaging. But it also led to the development of nuclear weapons, casting the shadow of the atomic bomb over humanity. Curie's gift to the world was profound knowledge, and that knowledge was as perilous as it was powerful. More than 90 years after Marie Curie's death, the echoes of her work are quite literally still with us, and still radioactive. To this day, Curie's laboratory notebooks, papers, and even her personal belongings are too dangerous to handle with bare hands. The books are saturated with radium's signature rays. Historians and researchers who wish to read Curie's handwritten notes must sign liability waivers and don protective gear just to see them, and the materials are stored in sealed, lead-lined boxes in Paris. The most haunting fact of all, these items will remain highly radioactive for at least 1,500 years into the future. Her discoveries were so powerful that their remnants outlive her, glowing silently through the centuries. It is as if Marie Curie's presence still lingers, an invisible, radioactive ghost emanating from the faded pages of her notebooks. Even Marie Curie's own body retains the imprint of radium's curse. When the French authorities moved her remains to the Pantheon in 1995 to honor her, they found that her coffin had to be lined with a thick layer of lead because her bones were still emitting dangerous levels of radon gas decades after her burial. In death as in life, Marie Curie literally glowed. The price she paid for enlightenment was etched into every atom of her being. And yet, what a legacy she left. From Curie's work sprang modern cancer treatments that have saved countless lives. Thanks to her, millions have benefited from X-rays and radiation therapy, and science has a deeper understanding of matter and energy. The Curie Institutes she founded in Paris and Warsaw continue to advance medical research to this day. Each time a cancer patient rings the bell after completing radiation treatments, Marie Curie's legacy rings with it. Each time we flip a light switch in a dark room, it's hard not to recall that once a small vial glowed in a dark shed and changed the world. Marie Curie's story is a vivid reminder of the double-edged nature of scientific discovery. Here was a woman who gave the world new light, only to be consumed by it herself. Her life illustrates the paradox of progress. The same knowledge that cures can also curse. The same technology that saves lives can also endanger them. In Marie's own words, "Nothing in life is to be feared, it is only to be understood." She faced the unknown without fear, seeking understanding, and she achieved it at a tremendous cost. Curie's curse was that her genius and her sacrifice are forever entwined. The radioactive glow she unleashed is both a beacon of hope and a warning in the darkness. It illuminates the miraculous possibilities of science, even as it casts shadows of caution for future generations. In the end, Marie Curie's legacy shines on like eternally radiant, eternally complicated, lighting the way forward, but reminding us to respect the power that science wields. Marie Curie's legacy still shines today. If you want more fascinating stories like this, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.